All right, folks. Took a break from YouTube for a little bit, but now I'm back into the mix. So let's talk real quick on a simple Ghetto, so-called AR-15 that I use for home defense. That's this little guy right here. This thing is really cheap to put together, and I'll tell you right now, you don't have to have a $2,000 AR-15 for home defense. If you choose to have one, then by all means, go for it. I certainly don't get paid enough to put that kind of money into a rifle for home defense. I do have some expensive rifles, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I do have some expensive rifles, but for a basic home defense gun, I don't need to throw a ton of money because it's just not needed. So this rifle, real quick, if you're not familiar with it, DPMS lower. This is an old school Bushmaster A2 upper. This is a 14.5 inch pinned, so that way it's pinned to the legal length, and it has a DPMS bolt carrier group. Walmart special, $20 metal alloy quad rail. This is an old used handgun light that I have on here, an old M3. That works really well. And just threw a standard nylon sling. And I have two old magazines here. These are old school. These are just found at a gun shop in Great Falls. They were just sitting there. Somebody painted them a long time ago, but you know what? They worked, and they're just good spare old GI mags. So they kind of go with the rifle, so I figured why not. So first off, this kind of Ghetto setup that I have right here. It is very, very inexpensive, and it is ugly. It's certainly not pretty, but I'm not looking for looks. This is a home defense gun. I look at this as just a tool. A home defense gun is something that should be reliable, and in my opinion, it should be very simple, so that way you can work it, family members can work it, and it has to be something that you view as a tool and not an investment. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people will buy firearms for investments. They'll get really fancy firearms, and me included. I have some real fancy stuff. And they buy it as an investment, something they want to keep in the safe, all that good stuff. Well, some people, their mindset changes when they have an investment type firearm filling a home defense, self-defense type role. Not all people, but some people. This thing is pure utilitarian. It's ugly, and honestly, if I have to use this in a shooting, I couldn't care less if it gets stored up in an evidence locker for a year or however long, or it just ends up getting lost and I never get it back. So that is kind of important to me because it keeps my mindset off of the material thing and it keeps it on what is important, which is tactics, mindset, getting the job done, defending life, limb, family, all that good stuff. This is always a small portion of the equation. No matter if you got a cheap firearm, expensive firearm, it's just a tool. Me personally, I like to have tools like this for home defense because it just helps remind me it's just a tool. It's a good tool. It works really well. I've already done my checks with it, and it's definitely reliable. So I don't have to worry about that. It's very consistent, very reliable. I have no doubt that this thing will work just fine in a home defense scenario. So anyway, that's kind of my mindset on it. I like to keep it simple, keep it kind of ugly, keep it straightforward. Now, let's talk real quick on why I have this set up the way I do. Because I don't need all the Gucci stuff to defend my house. In my home, the longest shot is going to be about 15 yards. I don't need red dots for that. I don't need anything like that. Basically, when I have this light on in a very dark environment, I can damn near point shoot this thing at 15 yards. There's no need to get a sight picture, in all honesty. And you can try it. I mean, with an AR-15, with any type of rifle, 15 yards is a short distance, so I don't need to worry about all that stuff. That's my choice. If you choose to do other things, that's your prerogative, and you're not wrong for doing it. This is just how I choose to set up the so-called Ghetto gun. Again, no vertical grips, none of that, because I don't think I need it. I want the rifle to be as snag-free as possible. One thing that people don't think about is reload. Have a type of reload. The only disadvantage that this has right now is I don't have these magazines. I should tape them together or get a mag carrier or something so that way this extra mag is on the gun. And the reason I say that is because the best possible setup is to have everything you need here, because you're going to be in your pajamas. Heaven forbid, you might even be nude, waking up in the middle of the night trying to figure out who the heck's coming into your house. So this might be all you have. Now it's 30 rounds of ammunition that you have in this gun, but it wouldn't hurt to have a reload attached to the gun somehow. So that way you have a reload on hand, just in case things get really hairy. Realistically, 30 rounds, 28 rounds, however you want to load your magazines, is more than enough. So, sling. Sling's very important because I want to have a way to keep the rifle attached to my body and free up my hands. I have kids, so it's very important. I need to be able to wrangle my kids, do other things, deal with wounds, what have you. Whatever I got to do, so it's nice to have a sling so that way I can free up my hands to do it. My choice of a 14.5-inch barrel, and it's kind of one of those things, I got the upper because it was there, honestly. This upper was sitting on the shelf. It was used, extremely cheap. So I just said, hey, cool, I like the old school A2 uppers, so I grabbed it and went with it. But another advantage of having the shorter barrel length versus a full size is it is a little bit easier to get around. It's great for close quarters, which is all this rifle is meant for. I can shoot out to 300, 400 yards with it, no problem, but it's not what this gun was intended for. This is a fun gun, a gun that I'll try different accessories on, but in the end of the day, those accessories will come off and it'll look pretty much like this for home defense use and whatnot. So, Ghetto AR-15, just kind of a little bit of philosophy. I know this video probably isn't the most structured video, but that's right. I don't use outlines or anything like that. I just kind of talk, and I kind of spit whatever comes out of my mouth, so I hope it's still pretty followable for you guys and gals. But here's the other side of it. Again, just simple DPMS. If you have any questions on kind of my mindset behind this or how this rifle is set up, feel free to send me a message or comment. These things are extremely well mannered. If you don't have a lot of experience with AR-15 carbines, you don't need a lot of fancy stocks or vertical grips or angled forward grips or anything to tame the recoil. The only thing about them is they're loud. They're louder than a 20-inch gun. So just kind of a little tidbit there. That's one thing you got to realize if you're going to use an AR-15 for home defense, it's going to be loud. If I touch this off in the hallway of my house, I'm probably going to have some hearing issues for a little bit, but that's okay. All right, thanks a lot for watching. As always, stay safe.